and welcome to Be My Guest. This is me, Mary Honan, and my very special guest, as many of you know by now, I've interviewed quite a few people from the Irish dancing world, but Patsy McLoughlin, who's my next guest, is very heavily involved in Irish dancing stateside, and has been, I suppose, a stalwart in the Irish dancing world for many years. We won't say how many, but for many years. And I hardly doubt that there's a person in Irish dancing that doesn't know Patsy's name and her reputation, which is very good. Hello, Patsy. How are you?
Thank you for that introduction, Mary. It's lovely to be here with you, even though we're separated by 3,000 miles.
Oh gosh, isn't it? Yeah, but we were only saying that, myself and Niall O'Leary. And I suppose when I interviewed David Gainey, and you know, we could be all over the world, but we all know each other in some way.
Yes, yeah, and it's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. You know, I don't think there's any other. I don't think there's any other career path that you would know from when you were children, all the way through your whole life.
Yeah.
That's
actually
really
a very good point. That's actually that actually really is a very good point. That summed it up beautifully, really, because you know, people go into careers and jobs and they get to know each other maybe 2-3 years prior because they've worked together, or maybe 5 years. We've all been involved in Irish dancing for all our entire lives.
Yes, exactly.
And it's a lifetime of knowing people, maybe not very well, but you know them. And it's almost made, I suppose, a village out of a city.
It has. And the other thing that I always said when my kids were growing up was how lucky, because how many activities would your teenage kids and older than that want to be with you? If we were at an Oireachtas or you were at a championship, your kids were there with you because they were part of it.
That was it.
Yeah, and not too many people could say that about their teenagers. You know, okay, they're with us this weekend, you know, or they're going to the world. They're going to be in Ireland with us for 2 weeks because we have the World Championships.
And into their 20s as well.
Yes, exactly, into their 30s, and you know, and so on, exactly.
Yeah, we were only talking about that friends of mine and I, about the fact that, you know, they didn't go through the dancing scene, but you know, and I was explaining to them, you know, what other organization or what other thing that you could do would be able to keep control of your children.
Yes.
In some respects, everyone, our parents knew exactly where we were every Sunday, every Saturday, every night of the week, because it was always class.
Exactly.
It was always fashion, and the parents were with you, and if they weren't, they were in the next room.
Exactly.
And you know, so it was a very safe environment.
Yes, it was, because I mean, even for my family, it was both dancing and music.
Yeah,
I was the only one. I was the oldest, so you know what? There wasn't money for music lessons for me. But my brother and Jimmy, whom you know very well,
fine musician,
and my sister Karen, who teaches with me, she has her TCRG, but she's also a violin player, and she plays with her musical partner Kevin at a lot of feches.
Yeah.
So she's involved in the music, and all my 3 kids were involved in music. So it wasn't just the dancing; we were steeped in tradition from our parents.
Yeah, it's the same with me. My grandmother was a concertina. She played the concertina, and she also was a traditional singer and Irish dancer.
Yeah.
But Mom, it was the singing that she took, and dancing with me. Even though they had several instruments, they wanted me to actually learn to play. No, dancing was it for me.
And see, with the singer in our house is my husband, so we have a singer as well. So
you're like the Von Trapp family singers.
Exactly, we're the Von Trapps. But no, for me it was the dancing. I took music for 1 year, and I played at a feis, and I was never nervous when I was dancing. But when I played at this feis, my fingers, the sweat was coming through my fingers, and I promised God, I swore, please, if you let me get off this stage,
I'll never play again.
I'll never pick up this accordion again. And I got third place, and everybody thought I was going to continue. And I sold my accordion the week after, before I was getting married. So that was the end.
You regret it?
No.
No.
I find it it's so funny. I found the music very stressful. Like, I couldn't go in to the Flockhill to a room to listen to them play. My nerves would just be, and when I went to Ireland for the Flockhill with Jimmy first, and then with my son and my daughter, I was too nervous. I couldn't sit and enjoy the music for what it is. Whereas dancing, I could watch all day long.
Yeah, because that was your comfort zone.
Yeah.
We all have our comfort zones, and no matter what competition I was in, whether I won it or not, I used to be petrified going up. I always was a bag of nerves. Even in professionally later on, always nervous until I got on the stage. And then the minute I got on the stage and I saw the crowd in front of me, it was like a different animal.
Yeah,
and I just performed. And even to this day, no matter what I do, I attribute everything to Irish dancing, because I say that what it taught us was, no matter how nervous you are, bake it till you make it.
Yes, exactly. A lot of parents always come up to me and say over the years, like, dancing has been so good for their confidence.
Yeah.
In school, when other kids, when they're asked to do an oral report, it's not a big deal to them. They'll get up in front of the class and do it, where other kids are tortured at the idea of having to stand up in front of a class and give it a report. So I think, if nothing else, it's a great, great thing for education.
It is, because even if you are petrified going on stage, it shows you how to cover up, how to get through it and smile. And you're absolutely dying. You might be dying inside, but there's nobody puts more pressure on you than you do yourself anyway.
Exactly.
I think we all put immense pressures on ourselves, especially when we're in competition or anything like that. But Patsy, take me back to the Patsy McLoughlin who started off Irish.
Okay, to the beginning. Yeah. I was about 4 years old, and my parents lived in Birmingham, England.
Yeah.
Because my mother was from Mayo and my father was from Leitrim. They had no work, so they came to England. Yeah. And they met and they got married. And they started me with a teacher. Too bad, unfortunately, my father never remembered his name. He went to Australia. That's all he knew about him. But I was about 3.5, and I took lessons for a couple of years, and then we moved to Massachusetts, to an uncle of my father's. There was no dancing involved there, but then we only stayed there for like 2 years, and then we moved to Upper Manhattan in New York. Right. And my father found this dancing teacher, Professor McKenna. I'm sure you've come across his name.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Professor McKenna. And he was downtown, and my father took me on 2 buses on his day off so that I could learn Irish dancing, which was fantastic. And he was an original for sure. The biggest thing, before you left, he'd always want to give you a kiss and a hug before you left, but he'd make you bless yourself with your foot. That was the trick of coordination, was that you had to take your right foot and be able to bless yourself, and then you could go home. So I went to...
Never forget these things, Patsy.
Exactly. Yeah. So I went to Professor McKenna for a number of years, and it was strange because, do you know the way things are now with these association rules?
Yeah, you can't do that.
No, you can't do this, you can't have this one. And everybody used to come into Professor McKenna's class. Jerry Mulvihill taught me my first step of the jig.
Yeah, and it was nice when that happened. There was a collegiality there.
Exactly.
People helped each other out.
Right.
There was no such thing as, people went up and they judged based on the child.
Exactly,
not the,
exactly. It was
not
totally
the
different.
association.
And then I went to Joey Flynn because Professor McKenna gave up, and I went to Joey Flynn, who was in the same style, the old traditional style of dancing. And when I mean, I was winning everything. There was only a few feshes a year. But when I went to one fesh, I saw the most beautiful style of dancing that I had ever seen. And I found out it was the McNiffs who had come from Belfast.
Yeah.
Peter McNiff and Cyril McNiff and Joan McNiff. And I just thought, oh my God, this dancing is so different. And it's so beautiful because it was slow.
And
Whereas I was like so fast. That was the style of dancing that I was taught. So when I was 16, Peter Smith opened a class just down the street from where I lived in Manhattan. And I started going to Peter, and that's who I ended up winning my championships with and retiring, eventually, and starting my own school.
But Peter was an amazing man.
Oh, was he ever. I mean, I used to help teach with him. I mean, again, it's so different now because I remember his sister saying to me, his niece rather, saying to me, why didn't you go in together, to teach together? And I said, because it wasn't done then. You learn from the master and then you started your own school.
Yeah.
That was just how it was. But we always remained close. And when he was ill one time, I took his classes for like 6 weeks and, things like that. Like we were always very close.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point, Patsy. It's a relatively new thing for people to be going in with other teachers and teaching with other teachers, because even when I was going to dancing, I went to O'Rourke's and to Nolan's
Right.
and you would do your exam and you would go off and teach your own school. You wouldn't automatically amalgamate, and it's relatively new now. The
It is
amalgamation
definitely.
of schools, or
I mean, he'd give you, especially Peter, when you got your adjudicators, you were in trouble, because whenever you sat and judged with him, no matter what result you gave, it wasn't the right one. He would just.
he'd always say.
Oh. He'd say to me, who did you give that to? And I'd say number whatever. Are you blind? No, Peter, that's the style I liked. I enjoyed her dancing. It always used to be, I used to say, oh, please, God, don't put me on the same stage as him. But then I found out actually that he treated everybody the same way because his results sometimes was different. So if you didn't have the same as him, wasn't good. It wasn't good.
Yeah.
So that was basically my history of dancing. I danced until I was the year before I got married. I opened my school in 1968.
Okay.
I took my TCRG in 1970. So I'm 52 years now teaching.
84, I took my TCRG.
84.
83,
yeah.
82. The same year as Maya Walsh. Maya Walsh and I did it together.
Right.
In Dublin, and it's a long time.
When I did it in Dublin, I was the only one that did it because I was going over for a wedding. My cousin was getting married, and Peter suggested that I write to the commission and see if there was any way that I could do my exam, because they weren't doing, a lot of exams then. So they said, certainly. So I went to 6 Harcourt Street, and I will never forget it because you had to do everything orally. Like the 3 were in front of you and they asked you all the questions out of the book, and you couldn't say, well, can you go back to that one now? I'm not ready for that one yet.
Yeah, I'll leave that question now and I'll go on to the next.
Exactly.
And I'll go back to that at the end.
Yeah. So I didn't quite like that. Everything else was fun. They were very, very nice to me. They were fascinated by my planks de drury. I remember they made me do that 3 times for whatever reason. I don't know, but
why did they do that? So also Farrelly, when I was doing my exam, I only said it to, I'm not sure who I said it to, but he asked me to do my slipjig step, which had 5 rocks and 4 cross keys. in it.
Yeah.
And he asked me, could you do that again, please? And Mary Duffy was there. I can't remember who the third examiner was.
Yeah.
I can't remember, but you know, I knew I loved Rocks and Cross Keys, and I knew I was good at Rocks and Cross Keys,
Right.
so I knew it was.
Yeah, right,
But
right.
I was just, you know, you start going, it goes through your head, why is he asking me to do that?
Exactly.
Like, why?
I know, exactly. But you know, when I came out, the funniest part was when I came out of the Harcourt Street, my cousin and my husband were waiting for me with a bottle of champagne. That it was over, you know. So I said, I can tell you all one thing: never, ever again will I go back in to do an ADCRG. But as we all know, time marches on, and you know, it's a different thing then.
Was that your AD or your TC?
That was my TC.
Yeah.
That was my TCRG. Yeah, I took my AD in. Yeah, I took my AD in '76.
Oh, it was 2000 and the year after, 4 years after September 11th.
I know. I was at because I was coordinating your exam.
Yeah.
I remember meeting you there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because I used to do that for over 30 years. I coordinated all the exams here.
You know, it all goes by in a blur. You don't even know who you're talking to.
I know.
Talking to somebody for 2 hours, and you'd say,
exactly. Yeah.
Talking to you, your mind is just awash.
Well, that's because you're concentrating. You're concentrating on what you have to do. What did I just hit that off? You're concentrating on what you have to do.
Pride. You're stressed. You're just.
I mean, I had nothing to do with it except coordinate the exam, and I used to be stressed.
Yeah. I can imagine.
When they were going into the rooms for their dancing or their teaching, oh, I'd be like, you know, and you'd be trying to peek through the hole, you know, like in the door to see, and then they'd come out and somebody would say, "Oh, I did great. I did great." And I'd say, "Really? That's good." And yeah, I made this little mistake, and I made that mistake, and I made the other mistake, but they were fine with it. And I'd say, "Oh, they were."
All right, okay.
Yeah, they were.
I never felt fine coming out. I always felt like I was beaten up going in and beaten up coming out. I worked myself up into a. I was well prepared. I had really prepared, but my nerves just got the better of me.
Well, that's how, you know. But the funny part was, the people that came out worrying were the ones who ended up passing.
Yeah, I was surprised. I came out worrying and I passed, and
and the people that came out saying, "Oh, I don't know what the big deal is about. I was fine. I did this."
I think I had that confidence.
They ended up failing hard. So it was always interesting every year, because I would never hear the results until they were actually announced, till people called me and told me how they did.
Even if you were confident, even if you really felt, I'd never say it because I'd be afraid.
No, me neither.
Flying in the face of God, my mother used to say.
Oh, that's a saying. Yes, exactly.
Flying in the face. Pride comes before.
How I ended up teaching, and now I'm happy to say I have about 25 former pupils that have gone on to become teachers and adjudicators, some of them. And the girls that teach with me right now are all former pupils of mine as well.
That's amazing.
Have their exams.
But how do you feel that Irish dancing has changed since you? I mean, there's obvious changes in the size of it.
Well, the size of it. I also think that it has gotten very, very athletic. I mean, I could never do half the things they're doing today. I mean, it's almost like a form of ballet with gymnastics. I mean, they have so much power, and they have to do so much strength training to be able to do that without injuries.
Right, yeah.
You know, I find it very, very difficult. You know, and some of the parents, unfortunately, I think it's a different game than what it was when I first started teaching. When we went to a FEJ and we had a bus trip to a FEJ, everybody was excited, and I always remember this one woman coming back at the end, and her wee Mary, that's what she used to call her, my wee Mary got third in her slip jig, and it was like she was jumping up and down. Now you get people that say, how come she didn't get it first? They don't want to know about a second or a third. It's like, why didn't they get it first?
But you know, it's do you not think that, like I do, that it's setting especially young children up for a life where they're not able to cope with loss
Yeah,
or failure? And
disappointment.
you know,
Yeah,
there's this fear of using the word failure
mhm.
or loss, and saying, oh well, I didn't lose, I was second, or I was. That's all very good, but I think we go through life and we've got to accept, and I think that's the one of the lessons I've learned from dancing as well, is to be able to win and lose with the same amount of grace and
Yeah,
dignity, you know, to take your losses just as well as you took your
right. As
successes.
you take your
And
wins. And
I
I mean, the one thing I've always concentrated on, whether it has worked or not worked, as far as I don't have big classes, which are fine because I'm not interested. It's more a case of wanting the children that come in to learn how to enjoy Irish dancing and to make friends. And my dancers will tell you, the ones even now that
yeah,
are, they're in their 50s now, and they'll say, you know, we always remember that. Your big thing was always about the friends we're going to have. Nobody's going to remember 30 years down the line who won which trophy at what fesh. But you will remember the friends you hung out with all weekend.
yeah, exactly. And
And
you'll remember
yeah,
the lessons, because the lessons
yeah,
that you learned from Irish dancing carry you through every aspect of your life,
yes, they do. They do.
whether it's your personal life, or whether it's how you accept losing a relationship, or losing a job
Yeah, yeah,
interview, or losing any failing an exam in school.
yeah. But
And
they know
children
they
are
can come
prepared for
back.
that nowadays.
They know they can come back, and they can, as one of our girls had it really tough a few years back. She lost her she's the oldest of five. Excuse me. And she lost her mother when she was 16. Then she lost her father, and she lost her aunt that was her godmother. It just
Yeah,
seemed like nothing. And she used to come back when she was in college. She used to come back, and she would just arrive in sometimes with her shoes for half an hour. And I'd say, oh,
she's a
but
great kid.
are you home or whatever? No, this is my happy place. I just need to come to my happy place for a little while.
Yeah,
And you know what? That made me feel good, because I thought it's not all about competition. Do you know what I mean? It's about a whole family. That's how we've always kind of
yeah,
we've
and
always kind of treated it like that.
as well as that, Patsy, I don't know if you agree with, I'm sure you do, but you know, when you can be involved in the in the strongest amount of competition, and we all are, you know, I mean, I love
Yeah,
competition, and I've always felt that I'll work hard if I feel there's an objective at the end of it, and the objective is a competition and a result, and finding out
yeah,
how best it can perform. But when the chips are down, and like that, like your pupil, and and you're at your lowest ebb, it's the
yeah,
people in Irish dancing. It's Irish dancing at my lowest points in my life. I always had Irish dancing to come back to. I
yeah.
always had a fesh to go to, and then I was back into the swing of it again, even at the worst. And I've had
Worth
some
time.
shockingly bad times in my life.
Yeah,
But even at those worst times, dancing was there. And you could
is there.
always say, no
Yes,
matter where you are in the world, I can always go and meet somebody from the dancing world, and you're back in,
exactly,
and
exactly.
you don't feel like you're in another country
No,
when
it's true.
you're
Yeah,
involved in dancing, because
exactly. It's true, because
you
no
need
matter
people.
where you go, there's somebody. I mean, now I'm in another position now, because my oldest daughter, Deirdre, she's a physical therapist, and she lives in California. So she said to me years ago, she said, Mom, where would you suggest, or I said, I don't know who's there. And the Whalens, Sharon and Sheila Whalen, is where she goes, her
Yeah,
two kids go to. And they love it. They love, Kathleen is going to be 15 now. And James, this was supposed to be his first world, but thanks to COVID, we had no world. but they absolutely love their Irish dancing. They
Yeah.
love the teams, they love the solos. And I think, wow, this is great. And that's what she wanted. She said, I wanted a class where it was going to be like mine, that I could, I could grow up and enjoy it.
And
And
have friends and
yes,
have memories other than intense competition. Because not every child, sometimes you say, not every child is going to be a champion dancer. Some
nope.
children are going to be doctors. Not
Yeah,
every child is going to be a doctor or a nurse or a teacher or a scientist or a
exactly.
lawyer.
I know.
But some might be Irish dancers. And it's no great crime if you've worked really, 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 really hard and you're still never going to be a champion Irish dancer.
Yes.
But it's
Yeah.
the process along the way and the
And I mean,
friends you make.
she went to the World last year with us, because he was dancing. James was dancing at the World. And I swear to God, Mary, it was so funny. She had a notebook and she knew every one of the top dancers that she wanted to see. Where was this one now? And what room was she going to be in? There was no entertaining her. She didn't need to be entertained, because even though she wasn't dancing herself, she was knowledgeable about other people that were.
But isn't that the way? I think we were all like that. I think we were all like, when you were at a fesh every Sunday or every weekend or the World Championships or the All Irelands, it was like you were as involved in everyone else's competitions
Yes,
as
yes,
you were in your own. Because
yes,
if your friend was dancing in the next hall, I mean, when I was dancing at the Worlds every year, it was the Mansion House in
that's
Dublin.
right. Yeah,
And you only had two halls, which
right.
wasn't and which wasn't that difficult to get to, but you were always conscious that your friend was dancing in the next
Right,
hall,
right.
or and there was always that collegiality there.
Yeah,
Everyone
exactly.
was looking
Yeah.
out for everyone else, and you weren't even conscious of being in. As much as I loved competition, I don't think I ever felt like I was competing with my friends.
No, I agree. And I always tell the story of Jim. I'm sure you know Jimmy Friel.
Yeah.
Well, Jimmy Friel and I used to be in the same competition when it was boys and girls mixed. There was no.
Yeah.
He'll always tell you he was younger though, but that's beside the point. But that time there was no metronome, and I always had a great sense of timing, like just the
Yeah.
name that I knew. So when he'd go up on the stage to do his set, he'd look down at me, and we had our little a little slower, Jimmy, a little
And all of this to the
put my hands
musician.
up here, do that. And it used to be so funny because people used to say, but aren't you in the same competition? And I'd say, yeah, we are. But like,
Yeah.
who wants to see, you don't want to see somebody go up and just not be able to do their dance the way they want to. But then another time we were doing an 8-hand, and he got mad because somebody went the wrong way. And all of a sudden I noticed there was only 7 of us on the stage and he had gone down the stairs. So
Jimmy Smith, Jimmy Smith in
that was Jimmy Friel. So we had our moments.
Jimmy Smith and Kerry.
I do. Yes, I
Jimmy
met him years ago.
Jimmy tells a wonderful story about how he did a competition one time, and he said he came up from Kerry to do the competition.
Yeah.
And he was on stage with the guy who was expected to win, and this guy was, from what I remember, he was from Dublin, and he had all the gear, and he was dancing. And Jimmy was beside him, and Jimmy was about to start dancing, and this guy just went straight for the front dancing, and Jimmy thought he was getting a seizure.
Oh.
Stopped on the stage. and what's her name that teaches taught with him? Honor was his teacher at the time, even though she was younger than him.
That's funny.
Anna was younger than Jimmy, but she likes to say was younger than Jimmy, and she was teaching him. She hit him. She actually pushed him into the fountain in front of the hall because he was beautiful dancer, and he just stopped flat because I thought he was getting a stroke.
I met my aunt was a nun in Tralee, and she introduced me years and years and years ago to Jimmy and to Pat Hannafin.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you knew Pat. And so therefore,
I know of the names.
Yes, so anytime I'd go to the world, like I'd be able to connect, you know what I mean? Then she went to Galway and she introduced me to Maureen Caniff. And she stayed very good friends. Maureen's mother was very good to her when she was there. And then she went to Belfast, and I used to go up to Belfast to see her. And Fidelma's great friend was Vornan O'Connor, so I became very good friends with Vornan O'Connor.
Lovely.
Yes, but it's so funny how, do you know what I mean? How it all goes around, you know, how you meet people.
And they're still around today, all
yes,
teachers.
Yeah, all the ones, like even now, you said, I know did you dance at the First World? The very first World?
No, my first World was 1970, I'm thinking.
Well, because one of the girls that teaches with me, Tara Sullivan.
I would have been in Eugene, a little bit younger than Eugene O'Brien.
Right. Yeah, well, this girl that teaches with me now, Tara Sullivan, her aunt, her mother came from Limerick. Her aunt was on the First World team with the Nolans, the first year of the World.
I did the Limerick Lace Workers.
Slater was her name, but Slater.
No.
She's related in some way to Tony Costello as well. I think somebody's brother is married to a sister or whatever.
Oh, yes. His sister is married. His sister was married to Slater.
Yeah, I think Geraldine and
Geraldine, yeah.
So, right, but it's so funny, like to think now, all these years later, Tara teaches with me, and her daughter is the same age as my granddaughter. She's going to be 15, and she dances. You know, so it's just the circle just doesn't keep. It keeps going, you know, and. So many of my former students have brought their own kids to me, which is lovely.
Yeah.
You know, because they've got the same attitude that they had when they were dancing themselves.
Well, this is it. You see, it comes from the family. Yeah. It all comes from the family.
Right. They want. If they're good, that's great. Let them be good. If they're not good, let them enjoy it. You know. So it's made my life and career very easy. I can tell you that. You know, there hasn't been. I haven't had drama. I could count the number of transfers I've ever had, and I usually would ask them if they could go back to their own teacher, like, what is the problem? It's not like I'm out looking for the transfers, you know?
And about the transfers, what do you think of of people wanting to transfer? You know, you see children who have maybe got second or third at the World, and they transfer the next day.
Right.
Thinking, God, there's so many people would actually give their IT.
Exactly. I don't think much of it. I think there are some cases that there is a problem in the school, and I understand that, and that's why I've always discussed it with anyone that has. I've never given a yes or a no. I've asked to hear the whole story and then discussed it sometimes with the teacher. And if it's something that can't be resolved, then I've taken them into my class.
Yeah. Well, there are certain cases.
And there are certain cases.
But you see some teachers, and they work so well with dancers, and they bring them to the highest level. And they just, not everyone can win a World. There has to be a second and a third, and maybe a tie.
Exactly, and you'd be thrilled to get it.
Thrilled, and maybe the next year it would be their year. But
I know, and we were lucky once in 1997, and we've had placings at the World, and then in 1997 we ended up with our first world champion, which was Teresa O'Sullivan.
Yeah.
And it's so nice now because she and her sister and her mother are teaching their own school.
That's fabulous.
You know, so it's just been, we've had, as I said, we've had people who have placed at the World. That was the ultimate prize. And you know what? It's never bothered me one way or the other to say, well, oh God, I haven't gotten it again. Do you know what I mean? I thought I got it once. I'm not one of these people that goes out teaching 7 days a week and, you know, spends all night and day trying to make them all champions. You know, if they have it in them, we can bring it out in them. There's no question about it.
How important do you think that shows like Riverdance and Lord of the Dance, Feet of Flames, all of those shows, and the subsequent shows have
Yeah.
been for getting, it's probably a leading question, but getting all these new schools, these new countries involved, like Israel, China, South Africa, all these new emerging countries involved in Irish dancing.
I think I don't have a problem with that. I think the biggest thing that the likes of Riverdance, Lord of the Dance, Celtic Tiger, all the different ones, what was the other one? I can't even think of it now.
Feed the Flames.
Feed of Flames, and there was another one too. There was
Dancing on Dangerous Ground.
Yeah, but and the Pirate Queen.
Pirate Queen. Yeah.
All those shows were fantastic as far as I'm concerned for Irish dancing, because our classes definitely jumped.
Yeah.
Definitely jumped. And it's in the last few years when there's been nothing that they've just gone down. As the older ones have left and gone to college, there's no younger ones coming up, maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be in the summer that we would have maybe 20 new kids trying out. And if you had 10 at the end, that was great. You know what I mean? Now you have maybe 5 trying out, and you're delighted if 3 of them stay with it, you know? Yeah. And I think it was because of the shows, definitely, because people learned more about Irish dancing through those shows than they ever did from anything else.
And as well as that, they saw the glamour and the glitz that I mean, we always knew that Irish dancing was spectacular and that it was a beautiful art form. But outside of, I suppose, our own little world, if you like, of we thought it was huge, but our own world of Irish dancing, you know, it wasn't known by places like Russia or China or Israel.
And it's amazing when you think about it. It really is, to think that. And it's funny, the things you remember. One time when Peter was in the nursing home before he passed away, I used to be trying to think of things to talk to him about, you know. So I brought down the new teachers list. And I said to him, Peter, where do you see all the different places now? And I'm reading Taiwan and Japan and Israel. And he says to me, it's a shame. And I said, what's wrong? I'll be lucky if I get any judging jobs now. Meanwhile, there was never a hope, you know, but it just shows you hope always exists. That was the way he felt, was now.
Hope exists.
Yeah.
If anything, you know, that was one of the things that that came out of my research, outside of Irish dancing, was the power of hope. You can live without faith, you can live without food. You can't live without hope.
Can't live without hope.
Hope is the one thing that will actually drag you through the depths. Yeah.
I agree.
That hope that maybe tomorrow will be better.
And I've gone through it myself, Mary, so I can assure you, nothing to do with dancing, but definitely is true. When I have a little candle in my room and it just says hope on the front of it.
It's the greatest greatest thing that you can cling to. You know, you hear about people taking their lives and that.
Yeah.
And say, if only they could have clung to the hope that tomorrow might be better.
Might be better, exactly.
And that it's never going to, it might never be the same, but it'll certainly be better than it is today.
Exactly.
That, you know,
exactly.
you know, Niall was talking, Patsy, about on Facebook about open platforms and that, and I saw your lovely posts and on it. What is your view of open platforms? You know, like having the idea of football and Coimisiún.
I honestly have no problem with open platform, with the exception of one association. I think you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Because
we all have that. We'd all have that.
Yes, and I just feel, you know what? He shouldn't be part of Irish dancing, period. You know.
I think, well, you know, the organization and the people that are made up within it are wonderful.
Yes, they probably are. But then why doesn't he leave it to them? Why doesn't he?
It's just when you look at it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I won't make any judgments or anything like that. But there's just that cloud.
No, and that's the only aspect of it And I know Christopher as well. Christopher has played lots of open platform feshes, but that is the one particular area where he won't. It's
Yeah.
just you know, everybody has their own opinion on
Yeah,
what,
yeah.
you know,
No, I can understand perfectly where you're
yeah,
coming from. Absolutely. And but the notion of open platform is a very good a very good concept in
yeah,
some respects, because we're all, I suppose, trying to promote the same
right,
the
yeah.
same, you know, at our very core, I suppose we're all trying to push Irish dancing.
Yeah,
Trying
exactly.
to push it
You're in
forward.
it for the promotion of Irish dancing and Irish culture, and you know, I think anything that would help that along would be good. Now, it
As
mightn't
long
be
as it's
too,
positive.
yes, exactly, and it mightn't be too good for some of the associations that are in the open platform if they feel that one of our organizations is coming in and taking over everything.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, there's definite. No, it was food for thought when I saw
Yeah,
him, and I had Niall on the other day,
right. Yeah,
talking,
I watched it. Yeah,
and I think he brought up the subject of open platforms and that, and on it. But yeah, you know, there are fors and againsts. It's
yeah, and
something that would probably have
especially
to be
maybe to
picked up.
even, and even to start with like a grades fish.
Yeah,
You know, that would be something that I think everybody could get behind.
absolutely, because
You
you
know,
know, I mean, you're trying. God, you're trying to encourage the masses. You're trying to encourage more and more
I
and more
know.
people into dancing, and children don't even know. My best friend, one of my best friends, she sent her daughter to, well, she was with commission, and then the teacher moved back to Kogol,
Right.
and she moved back, and they had no idea that the child was Kogol.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, it was only later on that they realized the difference between Kogol and
Right.
Coimisiún, you know.
Yes.
But I mean, there is, you know, I suppose, you know, I wouldn't want to be part of anything else other than on Coimisiún. That's
Well,
just,
neither would I.
you
You
know,
know,
I mean, that's,
it's
I'd
what
never
you,
be part of any other organization,
exactly, exactly.
you
You
know.
know, and they have to be a little careful at the moment because things are happening, at least in the States, and I feel terrible about it, but you know, it is
It's
happening, and
sad.
that's why the commission has to be a little careful with how they handle things because you know, you could get a branch that's just ready to just, well, then we've already lost 5 teachers anyway. So, yeah,
Really.
yep. So that's, you know, and again, I don't know what they're going to prove dancing against each other. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't
No
know what,
competition there.
yeah, I mean, they're joined on Kogel, but I mean, is on Kogel
Really.
one? Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. On Kogel in the United States. And meanwhile, I think that the branch in Florida, the original branch in Florida, I believe has split already into 2 groups. So
That's so sad. It's so sad for somebody like, I mean, I was joined up. I went to O'Rourke Extension, Scully Newlawn, and I helped Celine Penny out with her schools at one stage. And then when she was in the nursing home,
yeah,
I used to bring her out all the time. And she gave up her teaching then at that stage. But I did my teachers with her. She said to me, you know, would you do your teachers? I could never, ever, ever imagine being with any other
right.
organization.
Well,
I think
that
I'd give up rather
yeah,
than
but
be with.
that would be like me with Peter. I mean, I taught with him, I danced for him, I taught with him when I was still dancing. I took over classes when he wasn't there. I used to measure them for their costumes, you know what I mean? And then I opened my own class, but still always he was a huge part of my life. Like if anything was wrong with him and he couldn't, like he was sick one period of time for 7 or 8 weeks, and my kids were small, and I used to teach my own class and get into the car
I know I
and
was laughing at something
yeah,
you said to me one time. Uh,
yeah,
he overheard me in the balcony I think it was the World.
yeah,
Or no, it was certainly, yeah, it was the World. And I was talking to somebody, and I said, "Oh, I think she's gorgeous." I don't know who the girl was,
oh,
but I loved some girl's slipjig on stage that was dancing, and I said, "Oh God, she'd be she'd be my winner now. And he just swiveled around and he said, I'm so glad you said it, because he said, she's mine.
Oh,
I don't know, I still don't know to this day who she was, but I always remember him saying, you're
yeah.
right, and she's
Oh, that's
fine.
funny.
And when you
That
said
is funny.
earlier that he used to criticize you,
Oh, yeah, oh, God, that was big. That was a big deal. But you know what? Like that, you accepted it. You know what I mean? Like there was, and that's the one thing. Like the Petrie girls, I'm sure you know Lisa and Karen. That's the one thing
they're
that I
in
will.
one of the photographs back there.
Oh, yes,
With
they're
you.
probably in this. Yeah, this one over
The
here,
one
right?
here, is it over
Yeah,
there?
right
Yeah.
there. Of all the those were all the teachers at an Oireachtas one year of that had gone to Peter. But the one thing I will always, always commend them for, you might disagree with them on subjects at a
Oh, I
meeting,
think they're amazing girls. Yeah.
but they have so much respect. You would not believe the amount of respect that they had when Peter was alive
Yeah, you
and
could
when
see that,
Fidelma was,
Patsy. You could
what?
see that. You could see
Oh
that.
my God. And the same with Fidelma. She's
Yeah,
not well at the moment, but I mean,
isn't she?
no, she's, her husband died the beginning of June, and I talk to her, I call her every week, but you can't make anything.
Funny, Fidelma.
You can't make a lot of it out, of what she's not. But they're still, do you know what I mean? They would still be, if they saw her tomorrow, they would still be the same way.
Isn't loyalty very important?
Oh, it is. And I mean, they didn't go to Fidelma. Do you know what I
No,
mean? And with me, they've always been so generous with me. They didn't dance for me. Do you know what I mean? But they have such respect.
yeah.
And that's one thing that our regional board, like you might disagree with them on different things. We have elections every couple of years, but it's up to the people. Yes, you put up the people you want for election. The one that wins. But at least have respect for the board that's in it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's not always that case. And they're working very hard. And, I hope the commission appreciates the fact of how much work they are doing on behalf of CLRG,
But they
and
always
it's been
do
so
it with they always do it with a smile. They're always
well,
they're always, well, at least I've never seen them in
yeah, but it's just been hard now with COVID because our last meeting was January, so everything is like this. You know what I mean? And it's not quite the same as being in a room, yourself, and it's a great alternative because I know the commission's been doing it as well. But I think it's just been exceptionally difficult this year, for probably the commission.
Oh, I know. I mean, it's just on there a few minutes ago. I run a fesh every year. This is my 18th year running it.
Yeah.
15th year I was in hospital for 6 weeks, and the council ran it for me, and they were great. But this year would have been the 18th year, and it was on in September, and up to now I'll be ringing them after the show to say, look, I'm not going to run it this year because it's always September, and everyone else now in September has pulled out so far.
No, we've all cancelled. We've got nothing. Our fesh is always up.
You just can't take the chance.
No,
and the
because
hall that I had won't allow you to have one this year.
And like every time you think you're getting a little bit ahead of it, they announced this morning on the news that, New Jersey, we've been lucky now because in the beginning we were terrible. We had the worst because we were right in the epicenter of it. Excuse me. But now they've announced that it's back to wearing masks, that you have to wear them in public if there's not social distance in between you. Now, it used to be that you had to wear it in a store, but now it's not just a store, it's everywhere.
You mind wearing it?
I don't mind it. It's sometimes can be annoying. Like for the breathing, I find it hard to breathe.
I can't breathe. I can't wear. I couldn't. I'm asthmatic, so I couldn't.
Oh, right. No,
I'd find.
It's not easy. So now we've kind of gone backwards, and now they've added another 3 or 4 states to New Jersey that can't come into New Jersey without doing a 14-day quarantine.
I know. And I mean, I was talking, as I said, to Tommy Fleming before this, and he was talking about how his career, how the music, and there's nothing, he said, our government has done to actually allay the fears and to say, look, September, November you can start doing shows. He said
Exactly.
he was looking at one street in Dublin where he normally performs in a big auditorium there, and it was packed with people the other day. All no social distancing. They all out
Right.
drinking and
Yeah,
smoking,
same as here. Yeah.
and and he can't bring people
Yeah,
into a
I
concert.
know. I know. Well, I know Chris was supposed to play. He had said yes to play at a fesh 2 weeks ago in Texas. Now, he was nervous about it. He was very nervous about the flying but he said, it's my job. It's my, that's my livelihood. And he hasn't had anything since March 1st. So he decided that he would do it. And then the day before he was supposed to leave, it was canceled. So that was the end of that. Like here he was nervous and everything, but still looking forward to the fact of.
Well, I think as dancing teachers or as special organizers or whatever, I think as, it was said to me on the phone there just before I came on with you, that it'd almost be better if you were told, look, everything has been cancelled now for
Yes,
until January. And
exactly.
take it out of people's hands and give
Yes,
you
I
no
know.
choice in the matter, because
Right.
you're there and you're wondering, will I, won't
Yeah,
I? I mean,
I
a
know.
fesh organizer she rang me the other day and she said, she was an hour on the phone with me and she was saying, I don't know whether I'll run it. And I was saying to her, if we ran, if you took my date, we could all run it together and
Yeah,
share everything together rather than, because mine is the last date in September.
right, right.
And I said, rather than you losing out on money, why don't you come in with mine? And then she rang to say the hall, there was a problem, and she said, I just I can't go, but you can
Yeah,
have my date if you want it. And I said, look,
yeah.
pondering it, and I just ran it by somebody there earlier on, and they said,
No, no, I don't think it's
you're
worth
better
it.
off not
Yeah,
running it this year, because September could come and you
yeah,
told you can't,
exactly.
and you've lost everything.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why we're not. I mean, ours is the first weekend of October, and I said to Jimmy, thank God we hadn't put a deposit down because it was a new company that took over this place.
Yeah.
And I said we hadn't ordered the trophies,
Yeah,
which
I'm the
normally,
same. Yeah.
yeah,
I
normally I
don't
would.
order.
Yeah.
I,
So I said, at least we're all right in that regard, that we
I mean, you
haven't.
could carry them over to next year, but
Yeah,
you don't,
exactly. But we don't have the money to pay for it. That's what I
no,
mean. We
you
have no
don't want
money.
it on you.
I don't have. I'm telling you, I have spent every cent that we have as a school and personally with the school, between getting insurance, between you have to have that done now, even though it's not due till September, with all the expenses of the school. The rental. I still had to pay the rental for the
Yeah,
months that I wasn't there.
yeah.
So
And the way it is here in Ireland, the way I would do it is, we don't pay, I mean, if you're getting your medals and trophies, you pay after the fesh for the medals and
oh right,
trophies.
no, no,
You pay,
no. Oh, you
and
wouldn't
you
get
pay
anything.
after the fesh for the hotel, and you pay
Oh
after the
no,
fesh
no, no.
for,
You wouldn't. No,
and
you
if no
wouldn't.
one turned up, you're left with all of those expenses that you have
Yeah,
to pay for. And
yeah.
I think I would just be climbing the walls,
Well,
Patsy.
you would be. Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. That's what we have to do. You have to pay everything. I just got an insurance policy organized yesterday.
Yeah.
I had to give my credit card for it. That was yesterday, and it's not due until September 5th. So,
Yeah.
it's just nothing but
That's the whole insurance.
yes, yeah. But it's nothing but money, and money that has to be paid out now. And normally you would have a cushion.
And it's probably very expensive in America for insurance.
Oh God, yeah. It's like usually about $1,500.
Oh, mother of Jesus.
Yeah, but
Ours is about 300.
no, it's not, unfortunately. But the trouble is that,
Jesus.
normally at this time of the year, we would have extra money because in May, we always run a little recital.
Yeah. I saw your recital on
And
with the Indian dancing.
the money for the recital basically goes to pay our accountant, which is like $1,200, the accounting fee, the corporation tax fee. Like there's probably about $3,000 worth of expenses built in there. And then the rest of the money obviously goes to any of the kids to help them. But we've already kind of taken care of most of the kids at our dance in February.
Yeah.
So, and I couldn't ask them for the money back. Do you know, I mean, I'd given them, stupid me being organized, I had given them the money, but I thought that's fine. They can hold on to it for next year.
Yeah.
That's why there's no money in any accounts, you know, because normally we would never be left with nothing like we are now. And I'm sure I'm one of many, many, many teachers. I mean, I saw somebody that was very worried the other day that can't pay her dues. And she was wondering, you know, she said even a payment plan isn't going to help her.
But I've seen my friend who's a magnificent singer and relying solely on, you know, playing in bars and hotels and small concerts and festivals and things like that. That's been decimated, absolutely decimated. As Tommy Fleming and Mick Hanley said to me when I interviewed Mick, they said, you know, at least we can afford it. We're not reliant solely on the money.
Yeah.
But Tommy Fleming has 15 musicians or
that's a lot of people.
Fix their sound, fix the lighting, transport all the equipment. And, you know, as he said, if they told us in the morning that we could go back performing, that's all the hundreds and thousands of musicians and performers all over the country, all looking for the same sound man, the same riggers, the same people bringing the equipment from A to B. It could take, he said, about 4 years for them to actually catch up with Tommy Fleming because they're doing other jobs.
Well, like Christopher normally would have been booked every weekend. Maybe there was one off. Every weekend from March until now, and nothing. I mean, that's a lot of jobs that you have. That's why he was so happy last night, even to play for the kids for dancing. I didn't think he'd want to. I thought, oh, he's going to be bored, stiff, you know. And Mairead, my niece, said to me, oh, you think Chris would come down? Oh, I'll ask him. I said, Mairead wants to know, will you go downstairs? And he said, oh, yeah. He said, I will. And they have class again on Sunday. He said to me, do you want me to go down Sunday? I'll go down Sunday and play for them. I thought, but he's bored. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing. So I said,
and
great.
Like that, you've got to keep up your practicing as well, because as musicians, you know, when you're not playing, you feel as if you're out of touch when you get when you. So you have to keep on performing.
And especially when by the time you get to the next fest, when you're probably playing for 10 hours, for 10 hours with a half an hour break, you know. So no, he was quite happy last night, and so you know what? And now some other school has called and asked him, will he play for them on Saturday? So he said, yes, certainly.
It's wonderful, you know, but it's amazing what we're actually teaching ourselves since COVID-19.
I know.
We were trying to start this little station up, and just everything shut down. I'm here in the station now with just a lamp here to my left instead of
it's such a nice show though, Mary.
Pardon?
I said it's such a nice show.
Thanks.
I've watched it several times, and it's very interesting. So
it's just like, I like to think of it as just having a chat. I don't like to put people under pressure, and if they don't want to talk about something,
right? No, it's nice
to talk about it. But you know, it's just I want it. I suppose that's my nature anyway. Just sit down and have a chat.
Yeah, no, it is. It's very nice. Very nice. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. I haven't been nervous. I haven't been nervous at all about it.
I have. You know who I have tomorrow is Terry and Philip.
You're kidding me.
I'm not.
Oh God, help you.
I know. I'm probably going to have the 2 dogs as well.
Oh, you will. You'll have Candace and Delmar as well. Yes.
Candace and Delmar.
Poor Candace. Now make sure Candace has the right, not Candace, sorry. Make sure Delmar has the right outfit. Camera angle, because he only has one eye.
That's right. It's his right eye.
Only I went down there last year before our Oireachtas for the weekend. Oh my God, Poor Delmar with his one eye. It was just,
They spoil him rotten. They're lovely.
oh my
You know,
God,
I mean, I
yes.
think anybody who's as good to animals as they are.
Yeah, they,
And
oh yeah, they
the
are.
same with Edward and Byron.
Yes,
They're
exactly.
just, I don't know how they keep their house so clean with 3 dogs.
I know. It
How is
looks
that
good.
house kept clean? Is
Well,
there?
I've got one that ever since I've been on with you, I'm staring at him because he's just lying on the couch. That's all he does every day. He doesn't do anything else. He just lies on the couch. He's got a beautiful bed in the living room. He has another lovely bed in my room. Does he lie on either of them? No, he lies on the couch.
I have a house built underneath the stairs for mine, and it's got a roof, a pitched roof,
Oh,
and it's got window with curtains.
yeah,
And they love sleeping inside there, but I have 3 of them, and they're rehomed. They were
yeah,
badly treated.
yeah.
But you know, I think anybody that's I just don't know how Edward and Byron have kept
I
that
know.
house, and
I know.
they it's an insult when I look at them on top of these beautiful chairs, and they're spotless,
I know.
and the dogs are spotless, and I'm
I'm
thinking,
telling you,
I'm looking
Terry,
at mine, and I'm saying to
I'm
the dog,
telling you.
take a look at this, and you know,
Candace and Delmar they've got a life. They have a great life. I can tell you that for sure.
yeah.
They had a great life when they were living here. They have a great life in Florida. But I think
You
the
must
heat,
miss them now that they're in Florida.
I think it's just the heat is killing them now. You know, for a while, it's not easy, you know, to get used to. I mean, we went down 2 years ago 2 years in a row, we had our nationals there. Oh my God, I thought I was going to pass out. And I like heat, but
Yeah.
in the evening, there was no break. There was not even a breeze, you know. And now Philip kept telling me, oh, it's not always like this. And I thought, oh, I wouldn't be running down there.
Well,
And
I'm actually looking forward to interviewing them, as I was looking forward to interviewing you.
oh,
Because,
thank you. Oh, it'll be
you know,
good.
we can't
Yes,
get to a fesh, so we might as well
might
talk
as
to
well.
each
Oh,
other.
thank you so much for having me. But no, it'll be good. I'd say it'll be very good. I'll have to make sure I tune in. You have to tell
Oh
me
yeah.
all these are going to be up.
I'll have this one up later on this evening.
Yeah.
If there's
Oh,
any video that you want to send me to put into it,
no, believe it or not, I didn't have any video.
that's okay. I have loads of photographs.
Yes, that's good. That's good. No
So,
problem.
so
No problem.
Patsy, thank you so very much.
Well, thank you, Mary. It was great talking to you. I feel like it just went by so fast. It was like really
Yes,
nice.
over an hour.
And look, was it really? Wow. And I look forward to seeing you when all this is over.
Please God, I look forward to seeing you too, hon.